Hi, I'm Victoria. My parents named me after the Queen of the UK. My great-grandmother was a duchess. She left us her huge estate and all her money. My parents were proud of being aristocrats and insisted we should act accordingly. When I was a child, I had a friend called Amanda. She was our maid's daughter. We often played together. Of course, we hid it from our parents. Most of all, we liked to make outfits for our dolls and imagine we were atelier owners. One day, we went down to the basement and found an old sewing machine there. We were on cloud 9, but then the door suddenly opened and I saw my parents. Victoria, what are you doing here? Is that our maid's daughter? You are a lady, not some commoner! My parents threw away the sewing machine and forbade me from talking to Amanda. At first, I was inconsolable, but eventually I forgot about my hobby. The sweet little girl was no more. The new Victoria thought she was a queen and everyone owed her. Amanda, where's my tea? 1 second, it's already cold. I'll make you a new one.
Do you have any change?
Okay, I'll give you some. Just step back. One day, my parents threw a dinner party and invited a ton of people to it. Among them was a rich couple with 2 sons, Cal and Steven. They spent the whole evening trying to get my attention and pestering me with silly jokes.
Do you know why no one has ever seen elephants up in trees? Because they hide really well. We're gonna start a YouTube channel and become famous stand-up artists. We'll make millions!
You're already millionaires, though.
We can always become richer.
Even though they were handsome, they annoyed me as soon as they started speaking. At one point, I went out onto the terrace to be alone for a few minutes, but
there you are! We couldn't find you anywhere.
I wanted to tell them everything I thought of them, but then Amanda came out onto the terrace. Would you like some refreshing drinks? Luckily, the boys immediately switched up to bothering her.
We'll help you.
Oh no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Amanda blushed and backed towards the door, but then she tripped and… Dang it! I was sticky all over and my clothes were ruined. It made my blood boil and I was left speechless. Amanda froze and looked at me with huge scared eyes. We'll help you. You've done enough already. Leave me alone. As for you, you are fired. You better not be here when I come back. Amanda started crying and looked at me pleadingly.
Please give me another chance. I really need this job.
I don't care. I went to my room, took a shower, and changed. When I came back to the guests, Amanda was no longer in the mansion. We know what happened. That clumsy idiot isn't working for us anymore. For the next couple of months, life went on as usual. One day, my best friend Bianca and I went shopping. I bought a bunch of branded clothes and even gave a couple to Bianca.
You're the best!
Back then, I was enjoying shopping and had no idea my life would soon be turned upside down. When I came back home, I saw some strangers and a police car by the gates. The cops were leading someone to their car. Wait, that was my dad! Mom was standing on the porch and crying. What the heck was going on? It turned out Dad had a gambling addiction and squandered our fortune. He got into debt and hadn't paid off his creditors, so our property was confiscated. Even my car! We were only allowed to stay in the house for 1 night.
Someone, bring me a sedative!
Finally, could you move any slower? I'd say it's been a pleasure, but our maids immediately left. I couldn't believe it was all happening. When I woke up the next morning, I thought I had had a nightmare, but then realized Dad's arrest had been real. We were kicked out of our own house like some sort of commoners. Mom called all her friends, hoping they would agree to take us in, but to no avail. My parents were too arrogant and didn't have any real friends. The only person who offered to help us was Mom's cousin, Mrs. Moore. She lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. I thought things couldn't get any worse, but boy was I wrong. Let's play! I'll paint your face! Ah! I thought I died and ended up in hell for my sins. Come on, I'll show you where you'll be sleeping. Was it some sort of joke? Did she really expect me to sleep on the floor? But that wasn't the worst part.
I have to share my bathroom with everyone?
While I was looking around, the children opened my suitcase and pulled out my things. Give it back!
This is gonna be an awesome pirate's treasure.
Quit touching my stuff! The next day, things only got worse. Mrs. Moore demanded Mom and I help her around the house, but Mom pretended she was sick and I had to do all the work. First, Mrs. Moore asked me to cook porridge for her children. Okay, that couldn't be too hard. I put a pot on the stove and started scrolling through my phone. Soon, I smelled something burning. Oops! You've burned it! We're hungry! While Mrs. Moore was cooking porridge, I washed the burnt pot. Later, she told me to turn on the washing machine. I've got this! You chose the wrong mode! Those clothes went out of fashion when dinosaurs were still around anyway. How dare you? Mrs. Moore and I fought several times a day. Meanwhile, Mom lay in bed, drank sedatives, and pretended she wasn't there. And then the kids crossed a line. That day, I woke up and saw my clothes strewn all over the floor. Mrs. Moore's kids were painting them with markers. What have you done? Those clothes went out of fashion ages ago anyway. Just buy something new. I choked with indignation. They drove me up the wall. It's your fault your children are so naughty. Feel free to move out if you don't like something. Great! I didn't want to stay there anyway. I quickly packed up the things that had survived the children's mischief and talked to Mom. I'm leaving! Quit shouting. I have a headache. I was so furious, tears welled up in my eyes. Mom hadn't even tried to stand up for me. I had absolutely nowhere to go, so I called Bianca and asked if I could stay at her place. We were best friends, and I was sure she wouldn't turn me away. I can't help you. My parents forbid me from talking to homeless people. I literally choked on air. Homeless people? Bianca hung up before I could say anything to that. The rest of my friends refused to help as well. That's when I realized my parents weren't the only ones who had no real friends. I was despairing until I saw Steven and Cal on the thumbnail of a YouTube video. They must have started a channel after all. Awesome! They could help me. To my surprise, they had become really popular. Their videos gained several million views. The stand-ups were hilarious, even though when we were kids, those two hadn't been funny at all. I used the last of my money to get a taxi and come to their place. Cal and Steven greeted me with smiles and led me to the living room. We know what happened, and we're very sorry. Could you lend me some money? Steven and Cal exchanged a weird look. The pause made me nervous. We can't just give you money, but you can earn it. We need a maid. Ours got fired. That was the last thing I was expecting to hear. At first, I wanted to say no, but then I changed my mind. For the first time in my life, I had to swallow my pride. Working as a maid was better than sleeping on the street. As soon as I agreed, they handed me a uniform and showed me to my room. Calling it a room was generous, though. It wasn't bigger than a closet. At that moment, I felt like Harry Potter. The mattress in Mrs. Moore's kitchen was a real luxury compared to the creaky old bed in that room. I wanted to burst into tears again, but decided to stay strong. Victoria meant victory, and I wasn't about to give up. Before going to bed, I got a call from Mom. Everything all right? Oh, so now you care. I only felt worse after our talk and didn't sleep a wink that night. In the morning, Cal and Steven bombarded me with tasks. Their parents had left, so they had the house to themselves. Wash and iron our clothes. If you ruin any of them, we'll deduct money from your salary. I never would have guessed they were such bastards. I learned fast, and this time I did everything right. After that, I had to wash the floor. It wasn't easy at all. The mansion was huge. The worst thing was that I saw a robot vacuum cleaner in the corner of the room. Steven and Cal were just bullying me. You missed a spot. Look, my white socks are dirty now. I wished I could pour a bucket of water on his head. Okay, I'll wash the floor again. As I was cleaning the house, I suddenly remembered Amanda. I treated her the same way the boys were treating me now. Was it karma? That evening, I was on my way back to my closet when I heard soft footsteps. Someone was sneaking down the hallway. The boys were already asleep, so I felt uneasy. I carefully peeked around the corner and saw a shadow at the end of the corridor. A few seconds later, I heard a door quietly close. Could it be a thief? The next morning, the same thing happened again. I was in my room when I heard someone coming down the stairs. Armed with a mop, I crept into the hallway and… Ouch! Got you, thief! I'm calling the police! Wait, I'm Jack. Steven and Cal are my friends. Naturally, I didn't believe him. You don't look like a rich guy, and those two don't have any normal friends. Then I heard someone coming down the stairs again. What's all the noise? She thinks I'm a thief. Jack is our friend. Next time, mind your manners. What the what? So he wasn't lying? I felt terribly stupid, but wasn't about to apologize to Jack. The next day, we ran into each other again as he was leaving through the back door. Why is a friend of Millionaire's using the back door? Force of habit? Yeah, right. Jack seemed suspicious, but I couldn't figure out what he was up to. A couple of days after that, Cal and Steven left the mansion. I was cleaning the living room when I knocked over an expensive vase. It fell to the floor like in slow motion and then… Oh no! Now I'll have to pay for it! While I was freaking out, I heard footsteps behind the door. Cal and Steven must have come back earlier than expected. I was done for! But instead of Steven and Cal, Jack walked into the living room. He saw the vase pieces and realized what had happened. I thought Jack would rat me out, but he surprised me. Don't worry, I know where to order a similar fake. He showed me a website, and an hour later, the new vase arrived. It looked just like the original. Thanks, you really helped me out. Don't mention it, just don't attack me with a mop again. We got along better after that. One day, Jack invited me for a walk. We came to an amusement park. Jack took me on a roller coaster and a Ferris wheel. Then he bought us cotton candy. I hadn't eaten it since I was a kid. This is delicious! I remembered how nice it was to enjoy the simple things in life. Bit by bit, I told Jack about my life. Dad's been arrested and Mom only cares about herself. My mom is seriously ill. She's my only family. I would give anything to help her. My heart sank as I listened to him. I felt sorry for Jack and patted his arm reassuringly. I hope she'll get better soon. Thank you. I was slowly getting used to my new life, but then it was flipped on its head again. Cal and Steven threw a party and invited their friends to it. There were people I knew among the guests. Even Bianca! I had to serve them drinks. It was so humiliating. I was hoping to see Jack, but he was nowhere to be found. When the party was in full swing, Steven and Cal did a stand-up. They pissed me off, but their jokes were cool. At some point, Bianca came up to me. "Hey, maid! Bring me a cherry cocktail." Everyone who knew me laughed out loud. They rejoiced that Queen Victoria had lost her crown. Cal and Steven finished their performance and also came up to us. I gritted my teeth and was about to hand Bianca her cocktail when someone pushed me and, "What have you done? Steven, Cal, fire her!" That convinced me karma was real. I probably deserved everything that happened to me. The boys discussed something quietly and then turned to me. "We won't fire you, on one condition. You must kiss one of us." All the guests whistled approvingly, looking forward to a show. My heart started pounding and I turned red as a tomato. That was too much. No amount of money was worth it. I tore off the maid's apron and threw it aside. One day you'll realize you can't treat people like this. It's a shame I realized it too late. I packed my things and left. My life had been upended again. I wanted to talk to Jack, but we hadn't even exchanged numbers. There was no one I could ask for help. Then someone came up to me from behind and put a hand on my shoulder. I flinched and looked back. "Amanda? I didn't think I'd see you again." I wanted to sink through the floor. "I'm sorry for the way I treated you. It was terrible of me, and I'm really sorry." To my surprise, Amanda smiled. "At first, I was really mad at you, but things worked out pretty well in the end. It turned out Amanda was doing what she loved most, tailoring clothes. She had regular customers and even managed to rent a small house. When I told her about my problems, Amanda said I could stay with her. How can you be so kind? After everything I've done to you, I forgave you a long time ago. It's all in the past. I needed money and Amanda let me help her. I'd never enjoyed working so much. When I was using the sewing machine, I felt like I was a child again. Soon, I started to come up with my own designs. I sold some of my things and bought different fabrics. It might be hard to believe, but people liked my designs. Soon enough, I had regular customers, just like Amanda. One day, Mom called me again. "Victoria, your father hired a good lawyer. There's a chance he'll be released. We could get our mansion back. I hope Dad's gonna be okay." The same day, I went to the city center to deliver an order and heard familiar voices. "We need a new text now. The battle will be broadcast live the day after tomorrow. We must win." "But I've already sent you a new stand-up." "We've already used that. We need something new. You have 1 day or we'll give you no money." What I heard shocked me. After Cal and Steven had left, I came up to Jack. "So that's how you know each other? You write texts for these wannabe bloggers and they pass them off as their own." It's not that simple. It turned out, ever since Jack was a child, he had been coming up with jokes. He dreamed of becoming a stand-up artist. He even filmed and posted some videos of his performances. But then his mom got sick and Jack spent all of his free time with her. I did all sorts of jobs to pay for Mom's treatment, but it was never enough. So when Steven and Cal approached me, I immediately agreed to their offer. Now, Mom needs an expensive surgery, but they don't want to pay me more. It's not fair. They're just using you. I suddenly got an idea. You need to take part in that battle and beat them live. Are you nuts? It's your chance to go viral. Your views will skyrocket. Jack hesitated, but I managed to convince him. "Oh, and one more thing. I want to help your mom. This is all I've earned. Of course it's not much, but..." Jack suddenly pulled me into a tight hug. I wasn't expecting that and froze. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me." He gently ran his hand through my hair. My breath hitched. I pulled away, feeling shy. "Well, I've gotta go." We exchanged phone numbers and I went back to Amanda's house. A couple of days after that, Jack and I arrived at the arena of the battle. I joined the audience and Jack headed backstage. At first, everyone showed off what they prepared in advance. Thanks to Jack's material, Cal and Steven were winning. But you should have seen their faces when Jack came on stage. The audience loved him. The second part of the battle was improv. Jack beat everyone, even the Millionaire brothers. After the competition, Jack was interviewed and asked about his experience. I couldn't help but break in. Jack was Steven and Cal's ghostwriter. Didn't you know? My words shocked everyone. After the reveal, the brothers lost most of the audience and got hundreds of hate comments. Meanwhile, Jack got a bunch of cool offers. Yay! We did it! I was so happy I wanted to hug him. But then our lips met. Oh, it was magical, if a bit awkward. After the competition, I suddenly got a call from my mom. "Your father father was acquitted. Can you believe it, Victoria? We got the mansion and half of our fortune back. We're going home. That evening, I went to my parents. They were waiting for me on the porch, beaming. Life can finally go back to normal. I took a step towards them and stopped. No, it can't. My parents stared at me blankly. Our blood isn't blue. We're not special. From now on, I'll do things my way and do what I love. My parents choked with indignation.
If you leave now, don't even think I'll help you.
I'll manage. Soon I got into a university to study design. Jack became a popular stand-up artist and earned enough money for his mom's surgery. We became an item. His mom treats me like her own daughter. I've made a name for myself in the world of fashion. Amanda and I fulfilled our childhood dream and opened an atelier. We can see Big Ben from our window. Can you imagine? Dreams come true if you follow your heart. Do you agree?